everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I will show you some watercolor tips. The most common mistake in watercolor is to dip the brush in too much pigment. The correct one is to move step by step from light to dark and provide contrast. First, I take some English red and carmine colors from my palette and mix them. Now I will paint two different leaves for you as an example. I leave two dots on the paper. With this, I first make a leaf with a lot of pigment. As you can see, this does not provide any contrast. That's why you should always start with a light tone in watercolor. I cleaned my brush on the second sheet. This time, I wet my brush and pick up less pigment. In this way, you can provide a contrast from light to dark. You can blend colors more easily while your paper is not yet dry. As you can see, there was a smoother color transition. This is a technique we want to see in watercolor. In the next step, after painting the light and medium tones, I can add some more pigment to the bottom part while it's still wet. I take some dark brown and add it to the bottom part. You can use this technique to darken the middle and bottom parts when painting flowers and leaves. Now I will show you this technique by painting flowers. I also put two dots in the middle. This is one of the easiest ways to paint flowers. There are many videos I made with this technique on my channel. You can watch and practice after this watercolor lesson. Now I am dipping my brush into the paint. I start to paint my leaves. I couldn't provide contrast cause I took too much paint. The more light-dark balance in watercolor, the better your painting looks. When you get too much water in your brush, as you can see, the pigment can be dispersed disproportionately. Get the excess water with the help of a napkin. Now I have cleaned my brush and there is very little paint left. I am providing a color transition from light to dark. If the paper is still wet, you can blend the colors or add different tones. Now I want to distribute the tone in the middle of the flower to the leaves while the paper is still wet. I want to add some yellow tones while doing this. I like to add these tones cause it adds a soft atmosphere. I want to take a little dark brown and add darkness to the first flower I made. As you can see, we can soften the color cause we started with a dark color, but I am trying to provide contrast with a little darker color. The more you wet your brush, the lighter the color you get. Use less water and more pigment for detail and darker areas. You can wet your brush again and go over it to make a transition in the colors you add later. You cannot achieve a soft blend when the layers are dry. I have made the transitions and it looks much more blended. Now I leave a warm spot in the middle in shades of cavern shades. I really like to do this, it makes a big difference. Now let's make a few small flowers in the same technique. Put a dot in the color you want. I cleaned my brush and barely touched the remaining paint on my palette. I mix it with a little bit yellow. You can mix it with a color that you think will match. It's fun. For an elegant petal, First press the brush down. This will be the white parts. Then let go slightly so that the tips are thin. You will get used to this hand practice over time and you will gradually paint more and more pretty flowers. It will be easier if you choose round and pointed brushes made for watercolors. This time I will use a little more intense yellow to paint the leaves. You can stylize the leaf shape to your liking. For example, this time I made longer leaves. At the end, I would like to add a little darker tone in the middle. You can also use darker colors for the leaves and light yellow for the middle. Now let's paint the leaves. I took deep green on my brush. Here is leaf with no color transition when I painted with intense pigment. Now I washed my brush and took less soft green, and as you can see, I got a much lighter shade. I can make leaves in light tones like I do with flowers and add dark tones to the stems. Now I bought some deep green and I am adding dark tones to the leaves. If you want to make details in watercolor, you have to wait for the bottom layer to dry. Otherwise, the paint will spread. You can add details as the bottom layer dries, using darker tones that you are suitable for your painting. Remember, the reason why we start with a light tone in watercolor is that we can darken the light color, but we cannot lighten the dark color. Think of it as the opposite of the gouache painting technique. The reason why I dwell on this issue is that is the one of the mistakes I made the most when I started watercolor. I hope you enjoyed this video. I am waiting for you all in the comments. Please let me know if you want me to produce smiler content. Your opinion is important to me. Also, if you like my video, please share it with your loved ones. Thank you very much for watching. I wish you a nice day. See you!